Now, I'm going to move on to creating the page footer. My footer is exactly 200 pixels in height, and the background color is here. I'm going to copy the background color since I'll need it in Dreamweaver in a minute. But just to break down the structure of my footer also extends from end to end and takes up the whole width of the browser window, just like my header did. That means it has a width of 100%, a height of 200 pixels, this dark gray background, and inside my footer I have three different elements. This page menu, this menu of my other sites, and my social media icons and copyright, which are another block of content. Now these two blocks of content are floating to the left. As you can see, they are lining up and they're aligned to the left. This block of content is floated to the right. And all of these are inside my container because, as you can see, my container has a width of 1000 pixels no matter which container I'm talking about. My header container, my section container, and my footer container. So far, in my footer, I only have a nav. So I need to add a container first that will wrap around this nav or contain this nav. So I'm going to select my footer nav by clicking nav here. I could also just select it in code view, but this is easier. Just click on nav and that selects it. Now I'm going to insert a div that wraps around this and belongs to the class container, just like I had a container inside my header. So with this nav selected, I go up to Insert, Div. I choose Wraparound Selection and type container for the class. By doing this, I now have a div of class container that contains my footer nav. So I'll choose my footer and add a selector for it. I don't have a selector for my footer yet. So Dreamweaver says body footer. Since I have only one footer on my page, I can just say footer. Now my footer will have a width of 100%, a height of 200 pixels, and a background color that I had copied from Photoshop earlier. And there you go. So this is the beginning of my footer. So as you can see, I have my header, I have my section that has hardly anything. It only has the words image thumbnails go here. And then I have my footer, which I'm beginning to style. So this is what my page looks like. What I want instead is I want to take my footer and have it stick to the bottom of my browser window so that it leaves more space for the content. Of course, once I add my images, it will fill out my section. But right now, even before I do that, I have a way of making the footer stick to the bottom of my browser window. Let me show you. I need to tell Dreamweaver that my page body, all my content, needs to stretch out vertically and fill up my entire browser window, and secondly, my footer needs to stick to the bottom. So there are two properties I need to set in Dreamweaver to make this happen, and they're very, very simple. First, I need to tell my page body that it needs to be as tall as the browser window. Under the layout properties, I set a height of 100%. So I go to my footer, under Layout, I scroll down to Positioning. So under Position, I choose Absolute, and I set the bottom positioning to 0. And just by doing that, by setting the page body to 100% and setting the footer to an absolute positioning with a bottom value of 0, it now sticks to the bottom of the window. So as you can see, when I resize my window, my footer always sticks to the bottom. Next, I'm going to style the text in my footer. My text color in my footer is white. My font is Lato Light. So once again, in my footer selector, I'll set the properties. First, the text properties. Now this is what my footer looks like. You notice there's two different things going on here. The words content for new footer tag goes here are lined up with my browser window, but the words this is my footer menu are positioned here. The reason for this is simple. This text happens to be inside my container div, whereas this text is outside. So you see what the container div is doing. In my header, I have a container div that contains all of this stuff. But this text is outside my container, so it sticks to the left of the window. I actually don't need this text. It was placeholder. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So now all of the extra text is gone. And I'm free to go ahead and create my footer menu. The footer menu is extremely simple. I'm just going to write these out and turn off the bullets. So I'll go to Design View and type out my links. First, I'll create the bullets by clicking on Unordered List down here. And then I'll type out all my menu items. Now to remove the bullets, we've already seen how to do this in a previous video. So it's quick and easy. I need to select my UL tag, add a selector for it, but be careful of what selector it creates. I don't want to apply this to all the ULs in all the containers, so I'm going to change this to footer nav UL. This applies only to the bulleted lists inside my menu, inside my footer. I go up to text properties, scroll down to all the list properties, and change the list style type to none. I will also go up to the layout properties, and just like I did with my header menu, I'm going to set the margin, the top margin, to 0 pixels. That gets rid of any extra space above. Now this is what my menu looks like, and this is what I want it to look like. So it's very, very close. I just need to add this space that will push down all of my footer content. The easy way to do this is to add some padding, just like I did in my header, to push the logo and everything down. So I go back to Dreamweaver, go back to my footer because my footer is what will get the padding. So with footer selected, I go up to my layout properties where I find padding, and I'll set a top padding of about 30 pixels. Notice that it created this space. And now the footer is shaping up. I'm going back to my grid just to see the spacing of these elements. My footer is sticking all the way to the left of my container, which is exactly where it is. My next menu, which is the Other Sites menu, is 200 pixels from there. The easiest way to do this is to take my footer menu, give it a width of 200 pixels, and then tell both of these guys to float left. So my footer menu will float left, it'll take up the first 200 pixels starting from the left, and then all the other stuff will appear. So in Dreamweaver, I need to add a selector just for my footer menu. So I've selected the menu here, and I go up and add a selector. Again, Dreamweaver tries to choose the class of the container. That's not what I want. I want these styles only to apply to my footer menu. So I'm going to change my selector to say footer nav. Quite simply, the navigation menu that's inside my footer. So my footer nav is going to have a width of 200 pixels. Now I can add my second menu, my Other Sites menu. This one, I won't add it as a list. I'm just going to simply create a div and type out the 3 links. So I'm going to switch back to Design View. To add my div right after my footer menu, I actually want it to appear, if you look at the code, I want it to appear after my footer menu ends, which is right here. And then I go to Insert, Div, and I say insert it at this point. The insertion point is where my cursor is, and that's where I want this div to appear. And I'm just going to give it an ID. Since this is going to be my Other Sites menu, I'm giving it an ID of Other Sites. Dreamweaver creates the div and puts some dummy text in that says content for ID Other Sites goes here. Now I can replace this by typing out my content that I want. So as I type these out and hit enter, Dreamweaver creates these as paragraphs. And by default, paragraphs have a lot of space between them. So this is something I will need to fix using CSS. Now I don't want all these paragraphs to be so spaced out. So I can tell Dreamweaver using CSS that all my paragraphs inside the Other Sites div need to be close together. To do this, I click inside any of the paragraphs and then add a selector for it. So Dreamweaver is creating the selector that says .container #other sites p, which means a paragraph inside an element called other sites, which is inside a container. It's needless to say that it's inside a container because I only have one div called other sites. So I can simplify my selector. Quite simply, every paragraph tag in HTML has a lot of top and bottom margin by default. So I'm going to set these margins to 0. By doing this, my other site's links are now spaced closer together. I also want to add a selector for this whole div called other sites. So I click inside the div tag, make sure I'm in the div tag, and then add a selector. Again, I don't need to keep the container in my selector. I only have one div called other sites. So now other sites can have a width of about 200 pixels, as you can see from these big squares. About 200 pixels is enough. And it's going to float to the left so that it stacks up in the same line as my footer menu instead of going to the next line. I don't want it to go to the next line. So I need to float both of these to the left. So with my selector hash other sites, I give it a width of 200 pixels. Notice that it now resized the width, which matches the width of my footer menu. Only thing is they're showing up in two different lines, and that's not what I want. So first, my footer nav, which is my footer menu, I want to tell my footer nav to float to the left. And then I want to tell other sites also to float to the left. The moment I do this, now they line up perfectly. That's the way I want them to line up. So let me switch to live view. And that's how they line up. Now all I need to do is make the words my other sites bold and capital. So inside my other sites div, I can go to that first paragraph, select the first paragraph and give it a class or an ID that sets it apart from all these other paragraphs. And then I can apply a style just to that class or that ID. So let's give it the ID of title. So this paragraph has an ID called title. I'll add a selector for it. Again, Dreamweaver says dot container and then other sites and title. I can leave the container out and simply say an element called title inside an element called other sites. And here I want to do two things. One, set the font weight to the bold one that I had downloaded, which is 700, and then set the text transform to uppercase. So it capitalizes the word my other sites, and I've already made it bold by choosing a font weight of 700. So now my two menus at the bottom are starting to shape up. I still need to link all of these words. So let's do that now. You go back to design view, select each word, and for the pages that I have not created, I'm going to create a dummy link by typing the hash symbol. And for the ones that are linked, such as my blog, I'm going to go and get the link. And with the word blog selected, I will paste the link here. Once again, Dreamweaver changes all of these links to blue and adds the underline. And now we know how to fix it just like we did for the header menu in another video. So I'm going to add a selector for the links. Now select any one of the A tags, which stands for anchor or link, and instead of saying ULLIA, which would apply to all links inside all unordered lists, I really want this to apply to only links in the footer. So I'm going to say footer A, or I can, yeah. So all the links inside the footer will have this style. Under text properties, I change the color to white and the text decoration to none. That takes care of the underline. Now I will add another selector that looks almost the same but adds the hover property. Because when my mouse hovers over these links, I want them to have the underline. So footer A hover will take care of that. It'll only select the link. It will only style the link that I'm hovering over with my mouse. This style will only apply to the link that I'm hovering over with my mouse. So in text properties, I go down to text decoration and choose underline. So you can see in live view that when I hover over these links, they get the underline. Back in design view, I'm going to go and link all of these guys. So now I have linked all of my menu items in the footer. That leaves my social media menu on the right side. So to do this, I'm going to click here right after my other sites div. Notice I have a blinking blue cursor here. So with my cursor in the right place, I go to Insert Div, choose At Insertion Point, and already I'm going to give this an ID. I'm just going to call it Social. Now Dreamweaver creates a div that goes end to end, long one, and says Content for ID Social goes here. I'm going to delete this text and insert my social media icons here. I go to Insert Image, and then one by one I insert all my images. And after these images, I will type the text. I need to line up this div just like I did these two, but this one will be lined up on the right. So I need to first give it a width and a height and then float it to the right. Looking at my grid, it needs a little more than 200 pixels. Maybe I'll give it 300 pixels, give it a height of 100 pixels, float it to the right, and then as you can see, I need some spacing in between my images as well. So my div called social is what I need to select, create a selector. Again, I don't need the word container, just hash social is enough. So now I've floated it to the right, but as you can see inside the div, all the content is lined up on the left. To align all these images on the right, I go up to text and then go text align right. I have this div looking almost the way I want it to, but I need to reduce this space and then add some spacing in between these images. So once again, the copyright Hardeep Kharbanda went into a paragraph And by default, paragraphs in Dreamweaver have a lot of margin. So I select the paragraph tag inside social. I add a selector for it, simplify the selector, and then go up to the layout properties, set the top margin to 0 and the bottom margin to maybe 6 pixels. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. I just want to add some space between my images now. So I can click on any image inside my social div, add a selector, and it says hash social p image, so an image inside a paragraph inside the social div. I'm happy leaving the selector as it is, and I'm going to give them some margin. So some left margin, let's say. So each of these images is getting a left margin of about 6 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Okay, I could increase that margin a little bit to about 10 pixels. And there you have it. Now all I need to do is link these images and I'm done. So for example, let me show you the Instagram link. So here's my Instagram page. As you can see, like any Instagram page, it has cat pictures, among other things. So I copy my link, go back to Dreamweaver, click on my Instagram image, make sure it's selected, and then in properties, again there's a link property, so I go in and paste my link. So now this Instagram icon is a link, and if I click on it, it opens my Instagram page. So adding links to images is just as easy as adding links to text. So I'll stop this video now, but I'll go ahead and add all my other social links, and then my footer is complete.